Welcome back. The Herd is coming up next here on FS1. Let's head over to Colin Cowherd. Colin, what you got for us today?
Well, when Westbrook and Harden don't work, Russell Westbrook will take all the heat. But Harden will be part of the issue, too. That's coming up.
Sounds great, Colin. Our good friend Kendrick Perkins tweeted this after the big trade yesterday. We talked about Russ not being a good teammate, but it might be time to talk about CP a little bit. Forced his way out of New Orleans and LA, and now the Rockets trade him? Make sure y'all give him the same energy everybody was giving Russ. Shannon, do you agree?
Yeah, he should. He did. He forced his way out of New Orleans. He forced his way out of L.A., and he and James Harden bumped heads. You know, there have been reports that Big Baby said he wasn't the greatest of teammates. Now, I need to get, somebody to hook up DeAndre Jordan and Blake Griffin and see what they have to say. And then that would be the confirmation.
I think Blake would say what you think he would say.
I think that would be the confirmation we need, Skip. But it's hard. I think, he's gotten a pass for the simple fact he is the Players Union president, head of the Players Association. And, and plus, he's like, he's so, look at Chris. He's like 6 foot tall in the Atlanta Giants, and he plays hard.
That's true.
But he's sneaky, he's dirty, and it's hard. I'm not going to disagree with Perkins.
I agree with you. I think he's always gotten a pass because I don't think he's been just good as the president of the Players Association. I think he's been great.
Yes.
I think he's done great work for a long time, and it takes a lot of his time and energy to do that the right way.
Right.
So I'm going to give all that up to him. But he's borderline dirty, and he crosses the line into dirty on a regular basis.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to respect that. And then wherever he goes, he clashed with Blake Griffin, and then he really clashed with James Harden. He's difficult to play with and live with in a different way than Russell is. Russell's all about just, I'm going to run through the brick wall with the basketball, whether you like it or not.
Right.
But I think off the court, Russ is sweetheart.
Yeah.
I mean, by all accounts, the players just love playing with him, living with him. I don't think they love living with Chris.
Skip, the common denominator in New Orleans and L.A. and Houston has been one guy. James Harden was not in L.A. He was not in New Orleans.
No.
Some of these other guys were not at the locale that Chris Paul was. So at some point, something's going on that either he wants out or they're happy to oblige him and get him out.
You just said that better fit in Miami is Chris Paul and Jimmy Butler. Good luck with that. Maybe there's a clash on the way there.
Well, he go to 4 team and he gets up out of there. No, it's all on him.
It's all on him.
Yeah. You can't. You can't go to 4 different destinations and talk about the food bad. Nah, bro, you got bad taste buds.
Yep, that is true.
Bad in New Orleans. All right, that's it for us. Right now, Colin tells you why the Houston Rockets just made a big mistake. The Herd starts now. Have a great your choice. What attracted you to Kansas City and the Chiefs?
Well, I thought I had obviously a great time, in Houston. But I thought Chiefs offered me really a great opportunity to really come in, be the elder statesman. I think I'm one of the oldest guys on the defense. So, that's a change up for me, coming from Arizona, playing under Patrick, and then spending that year in Houston playing under JJ. I think anytime you get to have your own group, kind of lead your own group, motivate your own group, I think that's a big challenge, and I just wanted to step up, to that plate.
So before we get into the details of the Chiefs and the new, completely rebuilt defense, go here with me for a second. Back in my days at ESPN, I spent a lot of time with Herman Edwards, who people probably don't remember, once upon a time was an undrafted free agent cornerback for the Philadelphia Eagles who made Pro Bowls because he had something that you have, and it was nose for football. And I used to talk to him about it, and he said, you can't coach it, you can't teach it. But since him, and I watched a lot of Herman, and he bedeviled my Dallas Cowboys many a Sunday, really a good player because he was always getting his hands on the ball. And when I saw you at LSU, I said, aha, there's another one where you're just gifted with it. I can't explain it, and I don't know if you can, but it seems like you probably had it from Pop Warner or whenever you first played. Wherever the football is, you just anticipate it instinctively, and you get there sometimes before the receiver does. Have you always had that since you were a little kid?
Yeah, I believe so. I played offense a lot growing up, Pop Warner, park ball. And then as high school came, I transitioned to DB, but I missed holding the football. And so I think it's a mindset, though. I think it's an attitude. A lot of young kids, they come up to me today, they ask me, how do I do it? And I just tell them, you know, I study a lot of film, I anticipate plays, but at the end of the day, I truly want to be where the football is, you know. So I think that's really, you know, what separates me. You know?
Hence the nickname Honey Badger, because every time I turned on your LSU games, it was just, you were just wreaking havoc.
Yes,
You're
sir.
just all over the field. And do you think you can do it off film study, or is it more in your psyche? I can feel it before they feel it.
Yeah, I think it's more mental, you know, than anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
I happen to know went a lot against the safety position, and I think I would rate you as probably the best safety because you can do something that not very many safeties can do. You can play the hole, you can come in the box, but I think where you add the most bang for the buck is that you can cover the slot.
Yeah.
Explain the difference in all three, because all three offer a very unique perspective.
Right.
Playing that slot, that guy can go anywhere on the field.
Right.
I think that's the toughest position. Everybody says the island, but I think it's the slot because he can go across the field, he can go in and out, he can go up the field.
Right.
Explain the differences, and when you study tape, how do you, because each guy is different that you could possibly be going against.
Right. I think anytime you're playing in the slot, you know, you realize that the receiver has a two-way go.
Right.
Most of those guys are primary options if they don't have a Julio Jones, you know, lining up outside. And I think, you know, playing inside, you have to have a real mindness of what everybody is doing on the defense.
Right.
Not only what your responsibility is, but you got to know where your help is. You got to know what the linebackers are doing. You got to know where your run fit is. So I think it takes more, you know, cerebralness to really, you know, play in the slot versus, you know, playing in the box or, you know, playing high.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they're also trying to rub you off. They're trying to rub you into your guy, rub you off, and their guy rub you off into the official.
Right.
How do you dodge that? Because there's a lot of traffic going on in there. But you can't get so caught up like I might run into the back or I might run into his guy and get picked, but you still have that guy.
Yeah, I think you always, you know, every time I line up, you know, I always try to take a pre-snap, you know, splits, wide receiver splits.
Okay.
You know, running back, where is he looking at? Quarterback, who's he looking at?
Down in distance.
Down in distance, personnel. And I think it kind of helps you get a jump start on, you know, what play you could possibly get.
Right.
And so I think anytime you play in that position, obviously you got to, you know, be dialed in, be tuned in, and you got to communicate too as well. I think a lot of people don't realize how much, you know, the slot corner, he has to talk and communicate with his linebackers and his safeties.
How much better will Kansas City's defense be now?
I think we'll be a lot better, and you know,
you better be.
Yeah, right.
You got to live up to that offense, right?
You know, and I think we got a great challenge ahead. You know, and I told our group, you know, this is going to be a tough hill to climb. You know, especially where those guys were last year, and you know, they brought myself and Frank Clark in, and I think anytime you could bring two guys in that really have a chip on their shoulders, an edge, a certain personality, you could rub off on a lot of guys in a positive way. And I think that's why they brought me in Kansas City. For one, was to really kind of raise the tide of everybody around me. And so it's going to be a fun season. And you know, I think we can't get caught up into what the offense is doing. I think most teams I've played on, I've always been a big brother. You know, so it's going to be different. You know, being a little brother.
That's true. So obviously that defense in the fourth quarter and overtime of the AFC title game at Kansas City got Brady'd because he just took the game over as he is wont to do. Do you believe if you and Frank had been there last year, it would have been different in the fourth quarter and overtime?
Well, I like to hope. I like to think so. I think, you know, I think Tom Brady is one of the greatest competitors, you know, of all time, really. I think he has a great, you know, mind for what the defense is doing, you know, where his receivers are, who to throw the ball to in coverage. But I think anytime you could get pressure on them and then you could communicate well in the back end, I think you always give yourself a chance to.
You did pick him at Foxborough in the opener last year.
Yeah, I don't really count that one.
You don't?
It was a tip.
You want to pick him clean, huh?
I want to pick him clean. I want to jump in front of something, you know?
All right.
But I'll take it.
Okay. So what is the secret to defeating him? How do you do it? How do you what's the approach that you would take that others aren't able to take?
Well, I think you got to be able to you know, to really play man-to-man on the back end. And then you have to find a way to generate pressure. And it's funny because I think the last team that was really able to do that was the New York Giants. You know, maybe that was 10 years ago.
That was a long time ago.
And, but that D coordinator is with us now.
Yeah.
So So I think it comes.
Now Wade put that thing on him with the Broncos.
He did.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
But see, like you said, you got to be able to generate it with four-man pressure.
Right.
Because you don't want to sacrifice your back end, because the more you sacrifice, he'll find the guy.
Find the guy.
If you can get they had DeMarcus and they had Vaughn and they had Malik and Wolf push collapse. You got to get pressure on the interior.
Yes, sir.
Because if you don't, he'll step up.
Yeah.
So you got to collapse the pocket and force him to go laterally because he doesn't want to throw the ball on the move. He's not like my homeboy. He's not like Aaron Rodgers. We'll get that pressure on him.
So is Brady, does he camouflage better? Does he trick you with his eyes better than others do?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's everything, you know, you want in a quarterback. I played against him last year in Houston, and it was a tight ball game, but it just seemed like he knew where his receivers were, when they were going to be there. And he understands every coverage. I mean, you can't disguise a coverage and he not know what you're in. So really, you have to generate that pressure, and you got to lock up on the back end.
Okay, so let's talk about a team I love, another team you played last year in Houston. That would be the Dallas Cowboys. Okay. Dak Prescott is due to get paid here pretty soon, as are several other people, including that running back and that wide receiver on that team. How good is Dak Prescott in your eyes? How would he rank in your eyes?
I think he's a baller. I got a lot of respect for him. You asked me to compare him to Pat Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers. I don't think he's there yet. But
not there yet.
I do think he's a ball player, and I think the more weapons that they get around him, the more comfortable he gets in that system. I think he'll just, you know, obviously continue to flourish. But I think if you take Ezekiel Elliott out of the picture, I think he'll still be a ball player. You know, I think he'll use his legs more. I think he'll be more confident. And
okay, you remember you saw him maybe at his worst last year. I think it was Game 5 at Houston. It went all the way to overtime, and finally Deshaun hit DeAndre Hopkins, who got loose for about 49 yards, and that was it. But Dak did not have a good game, but Dak did not have a #1 wideout that game. He did not have Amari Cooper yet. So once Amari arrived, they took off. They went 7-1 down the backside of the season. You didn't have to deal with them then. So you don't think a #1 helped him become a much better player?
Absolutely. I think anytime a quarterback has a guy that he can trust, he can believe in, a guy that he knows can win his matchups, I think any quarterback could really, you know, be more confident and really try to exploit the defense better.
But you know what the #1 is? 2-1. Tell the truth. Tell the truth, Tyron. Tell the truth.
Yeah. I think
2-1 is where that bread's butter.
You just call him Honey?
Honey badger.
Yeah, I think Zeke is tough. I think Zeke gives that offense an identity. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Just watch. My guy's going to be a Pro Bowl quarterback next year, and they are going to win the NFC.
Over who?
Over, name them.
Aaron Rodgers. Did Aaron Rodgers retire?
Whatever happened to Aaron Rodgers?
Did he retire?
I don't know. What happened to him?
Oh, he'll make you eat those words.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, he was making his own team eat those words last year.
Walk it to him. Is Wentz going somewhere?
Who won the division last year? I think Dallas won it, and they beat Philly twice last year. That was after a